Merry Christmas, YouTube. Why don't you put down all your things, grab yourself a nice drink, and join me by the fire, so I can tell you the tale of the Christmas Cavaliers of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. It was looking like a normal day in Jukdrol. The land of Chelphi is being inverdained by the Inverdainers, and so Sigurd and his bold knights step up to the task. Except today, Sigurd said, "You know what? I've done this 100 times before. How about you guys give it a go?" And Arden is like, "Oh wow, I get to get out of here for once?" And Sigurd said, "No, just the Christmas calves. After all, it's Christmas." Alec and Noish have modest beginnings in this game. While most knights are meant to protect their lord from harm, in FE4 the lord has no trouble defending himself. But in this run, Sigurd won't be defending much of anything, so let's see what they're like. Alec is the green Cavalier, and he's supposed to be the fast one. His speed isn't as high as you might expect, but he does have a turban and a pursuit skill. With pursuit, any enemy with speed lower than his will get attacked twice, although with Alec's mediocre strength, that will likely not be enough to kill them. Alec also has Nihil, which doesn't do anything 99% of the time, but it's interesting when it does, and maybe I'll point it out when that is the case. Noish is different from Alec. He is one of the unfortunate souls in this game who does not have the pursuit skill, so usually he will only strike once. However, the accost skill can occasionally give him an extra round of combat, even multiple. It activates more often depending on Noish's HP and the difference between his speed and that of his enemies. He also has the critical skill, which gives him a skill % chance to double his attack power, so depending on how lucky he is, he might hit an enemy once, or he could obliterate them completely. So let's jump right into the prologue, and as usual in Fire Emblem we are taking on bandits. The most common type of bandit is rigged to have just enough durability to get killed by a tag team maneuver, so we do just that. I bring Sigurd along because he has the Cs. Now this brings up the logical question, are we allowed to use other characters for anything? My answer is yes, as long as it's within the spirit of the Christmas Cav challenge, which means I'll do my best to only use the Cavaliers for combat. But if I can save myself a lot of time, RNG abuse, or simply a headache by using someone else in the situation, then I will do so, as long as the Cavaliers are doing 99% of the work. So, for example, Azel and Lax start so close to enemies that it's okay if they fight a little bit, but it also means I'm allowing Sigurd to provide his leadership bonus to Alec and Noish. This will grant them 10% extra hit and avoid. The avoid is especially helpful because taking damage from all these bandits is no bueno. Neither of our Cavaliers knows how to use staves, so the damage they take lingers until we can visit a church. The Cavaliers have pretty good avoid. Most of the time they won't get hit, but since FE4 operates on a 1RN system, where 30% displayed hit actually does mean a 30% chance to get hit, it still happens, especially since enemy density is so high. I sent the Cav duo down to the bottom village, the only one I'm going to be able to save. It has the speed ring, which turns one character into Sonic just by holding it. Both Alec and Noish have skills that would increase in potential through the speed ring, but I decided to give it to Noish. Pursuit activates against almost every enemy anyway, since he only needs a 1 speed advantage, whereas Noish gains 5% higher odds to proc a cost against every enemy he fights. I also gratefully make use of the 20% avoid bonus from the village tiles. Stacking this with Sigurd's 10% leadership bonus proves to be very helpful, though I am paranoid about one of the bandits deciding to attack Sigurd if given a chance. Since base level Sigurd has more bulk than both Cavs though, I'm fine for now. At this point, I also reached the first church in the game. This is a special terrain type only in FE4, where a unit will recover all of their HP at the start of next player phase, at the cost of some of their gold. This is the only way I have to heal my units outside of castles. Unfortunately, the chapel itself does not provide any avoid, so if an injured unit sits on it and gets attacked, they'll probably die. And this brigand had just finished burning down his village and decided to take a shot. Thank God for FE4's save feature, which is available every turn. Another strange thing that comes up in these solo or duo runs is that your weapons can run out. This is particularly problematic for Alec, who attacks twice every turn and usually needs more hits to KO an enemy than Noish does. Until I seize a castle, the only place I can repair his weapons at is the home castle, so I had him make a mad dash back there. In a casual playthrough, this isn't as much of a problem since you spread your weapons out across a lot of units, but the fewer units you use, the faster their weapons will wear down. This fast wear on your weapons also trickles down into a unit's gold supply. In FE4, every unit has their own wallet, and Alex is emptying fast with all these weapon repairs. Since I also didn't have the time to save many villages, I will have less gold available than you would expect in FE4 normally. Now, throughout this run, the most hilarious part is watching Noish just pop off against random enemies with a cost. But never was it funnier than when he was fighting the first boss in the game, the Magio.
Are you gonna use Rayquaza for charm reasons?
Maybe. I don't know if I can save her with 2 units, we'll see.
Oh, you have to clean units.
Oh my god, let's go. The Magio.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god,
Keep
it
going.
keeps on going.
Keep going.
It never stops, dude. It never stops.
Let's go. Let's go. One round that boss.
Okay, hold up.
Oh
ain't
my
right.
god, what the fuck is this dude?
Oh, those people you're hearing in the background, they're my patrons. Sometimes when I'm collecting footage like this, I stream on our Discord server because, you know, they give me money so I can make videos like this. Thanks everyone. Anyway, after I got the Cavs ready to go for the next castle, I seized this one with Sigurd. Arvis comes in to help me out, and he has the option to fry one of the brigands with Val Flame to get me out of a tricky situation. But instead he invites Sigurd to his Christmas party in Valhalla. How nice of him. When fighting the next group, another interesting thing happens. The enemies just plain stop moving, even though one of them can reach me. I can't tell if this is the AI being smart enough to not get baited out too far from their comfort zone, or if they're too dumb to realize that I am in attacking range. Either way, I sneak in my free kill, and then continue to bait and switch them into oblivion, since Alec and Noish are not strong enough yet to just fly through these enemies with ease. The last boss, Gerard, is actually a giant pain in the butt since he 2-hit KOs both of my Cavaliers, and he has way too much bulk to kill quickly. I just kinda have to hope that I dodge him, and if I don't, my only option is to change the order of operations and hope that makes it work out. And he has over a 40% chance to hit me, so that's not reliable in the least. After much pain and suffering, we get through Gerard, and we're done with the prologue. Now we're in the kingdom of Verdane, and we have a proper castle to call our own. The first and most dreaded bit of FE4 playthroughs is usually the arena grind at the start of every map, but fortunately in a run like this they are rather short. The arena only has 7 stages that every unit gets through individually, and I just try to get both Cavaliers as far as possible. Unfortunately, Emil, the Wind Mage, is proving to be quite the obstacle, so eventually I just give up, buy some weapons, and start the chapter. Ideen and Du start near a group of angry brigands, and I fall for the beginner's trap of leaving Du on the village. This means that every turn, the captain has a low but non-zero chance to one-shot him with his axe, and I have to let Du dodge until it's Christmas time over there. The safe play would have been to run away, either towards the Christmas time zone or towards the beach, but I was too complacent. And also I forgot to repair some of my weapons, so this first attempt is going south already. The first army the Christmas Cavs are up against is spearheaded by Kinboy, who has a silver axe and a hand axe. He has a lot of friends with 2 range, so often enough people like him with both 1 range and 2 range end up attacking me at 1 range. This is very welcome, although not so much when it's lethal. Eventually, by prioritizing the 2 range threats, I make it through on my second attempt. On this one, I had Du and Ideen run up towards me instead, so that I could greet the brigands chasing them with my swords. I try my best to do my nightly duty and push onwards to save the village in the bottom left, which is being burned down by an ambitious brigands. I barely make it through, getting only 500 gold for my trouble. Ungrateful bastards. Before I seize Gandalf's castle, I decide to do a quick weapon repair, and then I take on the Ira challenge first. Ira's is a funny recruitment. She is the quintessential Rep Myrmidon with a chance to insta-kill you, though in her case it's with Astra instead of a killing edge. You can recruit her by seizing her castle and then talking to her with Sigurd, but this is tricky since she is very aggressive. However, I use Alec to insult her parentage from the north, and while she's going after him, Noish and Sigurd sneak in from the south and clean up her castle. Alec keeps shouting slights at her from a distance while baiting her backwards. I actually forget to move him once, which would be potentially lethal for every other unit, but not for Alec. His Nihil skill blocks all sword skills, including Astra, meaning Ira never had a chance. Once Sigurd has seized the castle, he talks to Ira and tells her that Alec really didn't mean it that way. He makes them apologize to each other for everything that happened, and Ira agrees to give Alec her brave sword if she were to receive one eventually. Next up is Gandalf. His only weapon is the terrible hand axe, but he has a skill ring and a lot of bulk. Fortunately, Noish manages to push on through, earning him that skill ring for an increased 5% chance to critical, not to mention 10% more accuracy. Before Sigurd seizes, I have the Cavaliers choke an imaginary choke point in the Spirit Forest. And with the power of Christmas magic, the choke point becomes real, and a group of brigands line up in it, along with a very dangerous looking archer. That archer is Jamka, and he is a massive pain to recruit without losing a unit. He has pursuit, adept, a cost, and a chance to crit you with his killer bow, a fun combination when you're controlling him, not so much when he is an enemy. Normally, you are supposed to move Aideen in to talk to him, but since I don't need Jamka or his killer bow, I cannot be bothered. Instead, I take him down, once again making use of Alec's Nihil to avoid the crit chance. Also, funnily enough, I accidentally moved Sigurd too far into the Spirit Forest and he met a lady that instantly put herself in danger of a ton of enemies that could kill her. Sigurd, please don't do that again, bad things will happen. Speaking of funny Deirdre things, normally Sigurd and Deirdre fall in love at first sight, however in my run they did not. The way it's supposed to work is that Sigurd and Deirdre have a love base and growth high enough to where one turn of being on the map together marries them instantly. However, the turn counter has already passed 50, so that means units don't gain love points anymore just from being on the field or being adjacent. So basically, if you play slow enough, Sigurd learns to keep it in his pants for like a quarter of a map. Well done, Sigurd. For the last portion of the map, we have to fight in range of a Dark Mage with Fenrir, Sandima. Well, you're not supposed to. The idea is that you use silence to shut him down, because it's actually way too dangerous. Taking a Fenrir turn after turn is too much, even for Alec and Noish, who have gobbled up all the EXP at this point. Instead of rigging dodges, I invoke the Headache Clause, and permit myself to use silence with Deirdre. Sandima's army is mostly archers, and at this point, my 2 range is limited to the heavy javelin. It still proves moderately successful, though I do put myself in a pretty bad spot, but that's entirely my own fault for being greedy. Eventually, I pull on through. For Sandima, the silence has worn off, and in all their knightly pride, the Chalfie Cavaliers decide to take him down when he's not silenced. This stubbornness requires me to do quite a bit of RM burning just so that Alec lands his hits and Noish gets a critical hit, but that does wrap up chapter 1. So I pushed Noish pretty heavily at the end of chapter 1 so that I could hopefully get him to promotion at the start of chapter 2. After using the arena, it turns out that this gambit paid off. He gets a nice big all-around boost. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for Alec, but he'll probably get there during the chapter itself. Even with the arena, he's not going to make it to promotion, so I hold off on using it. Might seem strange, but there's one other benefit to the arena that I didn't highlight. If you win a fight, it fully heals you. This can be a lot more convenient than sitting on a chapel or on a castle. Noish also got so many kills at this point that his steel sword has over 50 kills on it. That means the weapon can now critical even when he isn't using it. So by pawning it over to Alec, Noish taught Alec how to do critical hits. What a bro. Now it's time for the rush towards Nordion to save Lachesis and her Green Knights. Unfortunately, I arrived just in time to see the left one bite the dust. I don't think it's super likely that he dies, even in a run like this, but I wasn't going to try very hard. Like, what do I need a Night Ring for? In fact, I let Elliot take out Lachesis and seize the castle just to give myself more time to clean up his troops. Rest in peace, Lachesis. I probably will regret this later. Once Elliot was dead, I took Nordion back, and now I can enter it. At the home castle, Ethlyn sells the light brand that Deirdre gives to her, allowing Noish to buy it. With his 2 lucky magic level ups and a +5 magic ring, he can do a decent amount of damage now without nerfing his speed like it would with the javelin. This came in clutch against Hairhind's field army, which is the biggest pain ever. Armored units are really hard to kill with these two, since without a crit, Alec doesn't do much damage. Noish's light brand hits on their weaker resistance stats, but it still doesn't one round, so this was overall a pretty slow process. I'd already resigned myself to the fact that I was never going to get the bargain band, which will make Christmas presents a lot more expensive. But damn, they burned down a lot of these villages. After a lot of resetting, I got through to the castle. Noish killed Bordeaux with the light brand, and then I rushed these 2 knights in shining armor to the villages. I had Alec fight the Free Knight boss for the Paragon ring, which will allow him to get ready for promotion. And while he was busy with the Free Knight squad, Noish went to salvage whatever I could of the villages. I contemplated killing Beowulf, but decided that if he survived a round of combat with Noish, I would recruit him. Beowulf survived with surprising ease, so I let him live. It's Christmas after all. We don't talk about Jamke. With the rush over, I take my time to get the villages and generally do busy work to set up for the future. Now Alec could finally promote. He plans to heal using the arena, but unfortunately he loses his first battle as a paladin. Eventually though, he manages to get past this fierce opponent. Once the Cavs are reunited, I take on Anthony Castle. Most of the armors here won't attack Noish because he's so buff, so in a way, we're suffering from success here. I slowly chip them down with Noish's player phase attacks and Alec's enemy phase, building more and more kills on the light brand and the steel sword. After Anthony is down, I do a quick pit stop at the nearby chapel to get my health back, and then I take on Macbeth. He has a lot of defense thanks to his shield ring, but the light brand makes quick work of him. After that, my Cavaliers must go, my castle needs me. The next battle takes place near Nordion. I can warp the Cavs there because seizing turns it into a hub. Lakis says, your sacrifice is appreciated. But Noish is too stubborn to let Aideen take him there, so he decides to go on foot instead. He tells Alec he'll catch up later. Alec is in a bold mood, and he baits the Makili castle guard as soon as he can, instead of waiting for Noish. This gets him in a bit of trouble as the castle guard converges with a group of enemy cavaliers coming from Augusti Castle, but soon his red knight in shining armor arrives to bail him out. Noish is still suffering from success though, now packing 25 defense thanks to Macbeth's shield ring. He does manage to kill the dangerous mages using the light brand, but for most enemies, Noish has to wait for Alec to finish praying at the chapel until they can properly rout the enemies there. Without the castle guard, Makili is only guarded by a single armor knight, a couple of ballistas, and a weak bishop. I could delete that bishop with Alec's shiny new brave lance that he got from Finn, but that boss drops a valuable item, and I want Noish to get the gold for selling it. After that formality, it's on to the capital of Augusti. There is one more cav formation we have to punch through, and their leader is carrying around the Horse Slayer. Fortunately though, Alec has Nihil, so we can expose him without caring too much about it. I swapped the shield ring from Noish to Alec to give him both frontline worthy defense, and somewhat intentionally create a gigantic traffic jam that makes it hard for the boss to reach Noish. After some fighting, it looks like there's going to be a space for Zane to skewer Noish after all, but then his troubadours decide to help him out by blocking his way. This forces Zane to attack from range instead, eating a counterattack and allowing me to take him out on player phase right after. From there, it's easy to just run up to Augusti Castle, take out the ballista, and Chagall right after. Before I seize, I do one greedy backtrack to grab a village I missed earlier, and then it's on to chapter 3. With the money I have collected, Noish is ready for his biggest power spike, the purchase of Arden's Pursuit Ring. How nice of Arden to give Noish a Christmas gift for only 40,000 gold. With this, he can double just like Alec can, while still being able to critical on each of his attacks. It's costly, but from this point onwards, money will be easier to come by. Since the pair of Christmas Cavs is strong enough to go their separate ways, I sent Noish to charge the front lines of the first castle, wiping out 2 groups of enemies. Alec goes to the left to start wiping out a pirate that's burning down a village there, and on his way back, he takes out a group of cavaliers trying to get to the main castle. Noish has the option to invade Madino Castle all by himself, but instead he goes on a side mission to take out some more pirates. Even though gold is not exactly an issue anymore, I still want to stop these guys burning down villages every turn, even if just to stop them from wasting my time. He rescues 2 villages on the right side of the map, while Alec goes on a stealth mission to take out the pirates near Madino Castle without engaging the Madino Castle Guard. The stealth mission is a success, and he manages to park himself right near the dangerous iron ballista, so close that it cannot target him. From there, he uses Kanto to his advantage to take out both pirates there. Now unfortunately, both of my Cavaliers are far from home, while 2 last mobile enemy groups are approaching it. Thankfully, I came prepared. Noish packs a return ring that he uses to teleport in front of them and take them both out before they can seize my base. From there, Noish rides up and obliterates the castle guard almost completely by himself. The boss drops a bolt sword, and since Noish already has a magical weapon, I hand this one to Alec. The light brand is still the superior weapon though, as it now packs 73 kills, giving Noish about 50% chance to crit with it. I also give Noish the +3 strength village to compensate for him getting strength screwed. Next up is the challenge of a lifetime, fighting Eldigan. He is not happy we let Lachesis die, and he sends a giant battalion of cross knights at us. Fortunately, I found a position in the forest that lets Noish destroy almost all of them by himself, without incurring any significant damage. It's fights like this that really make me appreciate solo or duo runs, just completely wiping out enemies all with one person. However, that is not something we can do to Eldigan. He does not mess around. He has a massive attack stat thanks to the Mistletoe, and with his critical skill, he can double that and OHKO just about anyone. Well, almost anyone, but not Alec because of Nihil. I try to cheese Eldigan a bit with the Horse Slayer, but unfortunately Alec misses. Turns out that Eldigan's 5 leadership stars are a bit too much to handle. So instead, it's time for another stealth mission. While Alec distracts Eldigan and tries to bait him away, Noish rams through the guards that protect Silvale Castle. If he can kill everyone there, including the boss, and escort Sigurd to the seize point, we can make Eldigan vanish. However, after a little bit, Eldigan decides he would rather protect the castle than chase Alec, so he turns around and advances on Noish and Sigurd. He is right in our face as Noish is facing off Chagall. Now, Chagall has this really cool and balanced skill called Pavis that gives him a 25% chance to completely negate any attack. Noish is able to break through just in time, and so Sigurd drives his sword through Eldigan's heart. Rest in peace, Eldigan. Also by Travant. The last objective of this chapter is the Pirate Fort, Orga Hill. 3 new units enter the danger zone, Claude, Tiltu, and Bridget. I like these characters too much to let them die, so I let them keep themselves safe with some combat, as it's basically unavoidable. Noish returns home again and gets warped back to Madino, while Alec is already on his way there to stop the incoming pirate invasion. Alec takes on the first pirate boss, who very helpfully drops his leg ring, a hold item that gives 3 move to the holder. This goes nicely with the other new tool I just purchased, Ira's Brave Sword. I use these pirates to train that Brave Sword up a bit, though I'm forced to switch to the Bolt Sword to counter the Hand Axe pirates. These guys will only attack Alec if he drops his own power level a bit by standing on a bridge that gives -10 avoid. I planned on having Noish sneak past them, but since almost all of the other pirates are just piling up on the beach where Bridget and friends are, I decided it's better to help him clean up with Alec. This way, Sigurd can go through the area sooner. When the 3 of them are united, they march to Orga Hill, where Alec practices some more with his new Brave Sword. Before seizing, I have Ethlyn and Quan sell their items, since they will be leaving me after this chapter. And that's it for Chapter 3. Chapter 4 is a real winter wonderland, perfect for a Christmas special like this. Before we jump into the chapter, I want to highlight one of the greatest blessings of playing FE4 with only a couple of units. This game flows a lot faster when you don't have to do elaborate preparations. I only have to do repairs and arena grinding with 2 units maximum, and in my case, I don't even always have to do arena, so I get to dive into the map almost straight up. In addition, the turns themselves are also a lot quicker since I'm only moving 2 or 3 units every turn, instead of the 20 you usually have to deal with. I would definitely recommend everyone to try a solo or a duo run like this at any point, especially if you get bored by FE4's pacing, or at the very least, try reducing your team size a little bit. Anyway, the first groups we have to take care of are the mages coming from the forest close-ish to the castle, along with the Pegasus Knights flying in from Thove. Of course, if we can, we want to take out the pirates that are burning down the villages. The biggest threat is the bishop boss that's with the mages. He carries a sleep staff that can put Alec and Noish to sleep from 10 tiles away, with no chance to miss. However, I know that the AI prioritizes healing allies with Physic over using sleep, so my plan is for Alec to chip the mages with his bolt sword and then swoop in to kill the boss. Turns out there was no need for this plan though, as the boss just walks into Alec's range. Now I can take him out with my brave sword, but on enemy phase he will be in range of many scary mages that 3-hit KO him with about 30 hit. I decide there's no fun without a little risk, so I take out the boss and keep the brave sword equipped. I could have countered them with the bolt sword, but since thunder has weapon disadvantage against wind, it wouldn't be a very good idea. Alec does a splendid job of dodging, but he does end up getting low with a couple of mages to go. Fortunately, in the end he pulls through and he's able to make his great escape, while Noish goes in to clean up after him with the light brand, which is now at its maximum of 100 kills, so it has an insane crit rate. Alec is severely injured, so he hurries back to heal in the chapel near my home castle, while Noish takes out all the mages and pirates he can reach. He ends up meeting the Pegasus Knight squad, but other than the boss, none of them want anything to do with his high defense. I expected Noish to get surrounded, but instead the Pegasi fly right past him. Ditova, the Falcon Knight boss, turns out to be a bit too dodgy to hit whenever Noish tries, but since he is not being blocked by anyone, I just have him run around fighting pirates whenever he can. He eventually ends up killing Ditova. Once Alec has recovered, he hurries back along with Sigurd to wipe out all the Pegasus Knights. From there, the Chalfie squad needs to split up a bit. Sigurd has to go through the mountain range to get to Thove Castle, and Alec will accompany him. Noish is going to wipe out everything on the more direct path to Thove in order to remove a couple of blizzard mages and a pirate. When Noish is approaching Thove, the boss thinks he's clever by removing the bridge, but using the power of foresight, I already prepared for this. Noish begins destroying the castle guard from across the river with the light brand, leaving only a couple of armor knights alive. These are then weakened by Alec's bolt sword and finished off with the brave sword to increase its kill count. Unfortunately, this encounter leaves Alec at somewhat low HP, to the point where the boss can kill him in one hit with the tornado. I could have Alec go all the way back to heal, or I could have Noish come over, but I take the faster approach and just rig a dodge so Alec can take him out. Now, the next battle takes place all the way in the south, but my characters are all the way up north. But that's okay because I got a plan. Noish goes back on foot to collect all the gold from the villages, while Sigurd buys the return ring from the armory and uses it to teleport back home. Finally, Alec catches on to how a return ring works, so when Sigurd sells it back to the pawn shop, Alec can buy it and use it too. Meanwhile, near Silesia capital, two Pegasus Knights are fighting over whose turn it is on the PlayStation. Andre and his Bow Knight brigade step in to settle the matter, and before long they have wiped out the NPCs, seized the capital, and sent the enemy Pegasi back towards Thove, which I just evacuated. To make matters worse, the citizens of Silesia are on the run towards the mountain range, about to get sandwiched between a pair of blizzard mages and a group of bandits. Alec and Noish, knightly as they are, dash down the mountains to help them out. They try to limit casualties as much as they can, but you know how it goes in war. Once the citizens are secure, I teleport Alec back to the home castle. Just as Pamela is about to take over Thove, Alec warps in to save the day, defeating Pamela with the brave sword and then using the light brand he borrowed from Noish to take out the javelin Pegasi. Meanwhile, Noish has the bolt sword and he isn't very happy about it because it kinda sucks against these wind mages. He's able to defeat the Silesia castle guard just fine, but he has to wait for Alec to get back to finish the job. The last part of Chapter 4 involves taking down this pretty dangerous all-woman army. It's led by an assassin named Lamia, and I bunga in there with Alec since he's still at high HP. He takes quite a bit of damage from an Elthunder mage, and even though Nihil should in theory make him pretty good against the Killer Bow archers, he nearly ends up dying. The only reason he lives to tell the Christmas tale is thanks to a lucky dodge against the boss herself. It did help a bit that the Sleep Edge Myrmidons refuse to attack, since they have less attack than my Cavaliers have defense, even though the whole point of their weapon is to put me to sleep. That just leaves Zaxxon Castle, guarded by 3 generals and another Baron boss with annoying wind magic. I don't want to RNG abuse, so I simply get Alec and Noish back to full health and then rush in there, having Noish attack everyone from range to gain weapon triangle with the light brand, and Alec can then finish the boss off with the brave sword. Now all that stands between us and Arvis's Christmas party is Chapter 5, Doors of Destiny. Chapter 5 hits us with one very time-sensitive objective: save Sigurd's dad from dying. Well, from enemy troops. To that end, I sent Alec straight into the fray. I was surprised to learn that he was able to bait all the armored enemies on turn 1. I thought I would need a dancer for that. Alec does get lucky again by dodging a fatal attack from a mage. During this enemy phase, Alec's brave sword reaches the 50 kill threshold, letting me crit enemies with a sword that hits 4 times from here on out. Noish gets started on killing those annoying bandits that keep burning down my gold supplies. Once Alec has wrecked the front line, I clean up the mages, the group trying to assault my castle from the back, as well as any bandits I'm relatively close to. I make liberal use of the return rings on both my Cavaliers to repeatedly hop in and out of the fray, saving myself a lot of manual backtracking. There's also an Axe Knight brigade coming up that was chasing Byron. I sent Alec at them to further build up kills. Killing the Great Knight boss activates the Archer brigade that was parked at Lubeck Castle. Alec's 2 range is not the greatest, so I have him destroy the boss with the Brave Sword, then teleport him out with the Return Ring before the other Bow Knights can retaliate. Now their only option is to suicide into Noish, who of course is still wielding the 100 kill light brand. There are still a couple of bandits left, but since they are aligned with Lubeck Castle, seizing that will make them vanish. I decide that this is the less time-consuming option, so I move forward with both Sigurd and the Cavaliers. Unfortunately for us, the castle is guarded by what could very well be our biggest challenge since Chapter 2, Langbald, who is wielding the Holy Hellswath. This axe knocks about 80% of our HP in one hit, and even though swords give our Cavalier heroes weapon triangle, that is not enough to negate his massive stats and leadership. The biggest hurdle here is his bulk. He has 75 HP and 41 defense. On top of that, he has a 30% chance to negate any attack with that wonderful Pavis skill. This battle is the reason I have been farming Brave Sword kills. Critical hits in FE4 don't just double your damage, they double your attack power. In any other game, Alec would do 0 damage to a tank like Langbald, even with a critical hit. But thanks to this game's crit formula, crits cut through him like butter, although they are not as frequent as I would like them to be. Alec manages to get him pretty low, but doesn't quite get the job done. But that is when Noish comes in to finish the job with a good old light brand for an exact kill. With that, Sigurd is able to seize and eliminate all the other enemies around that could otherwise have finished off my battered Cavaliers. Great teamwork, guys! Now, before us lies the Yeet Desert. Even if you've never played FE4, you probably know that deserts are usually bad news for mounted units like our Christmas duo.
But the movement reduction is not the biggest problem here.
After all, there is a road leading to the next castle that we can move over just fine. But there are 3 other factors that make it difficult. The first is these meteor mages that appear everywhere. They are standing in places where I cannot reach them, so I just have to take their barrage of attacks every turn. Fortunately, the Bolt Sword and the Light Brand give my Cavaliers weapon triangle advantage, so their hit rates are very low. I also repair the turfing a bit on Sigurd, and this gives him enough resistance to where the mages will never target him. The second problem is that the next castle is guarded not just by the boss with Meteor, but also a pair of priests with Sleep, and they have just enough magic to be able to put my Cavaliers to bed. I could put myself at the edge of their range and then storm in next turn, of course, but my first attempt at doing that didn't go so well. And then the third and final problem is the Thracian Draco Knights coming in from the south. Their initial play is to demolish a group of unsuspecting knights from Leinster using their horse slayers, but after they're done, they come for me. And since it's the Christmas Cavalier special, that could be a problem. Well, for all of my units, except one. Alec's Nihil can come in clutch again, as it prevents all kinds of critical hits. Unfortunately, his entanglement with the Desert Mages left him low on health. He fights heroically, but in the end he cannot make it through. As poetic as it would be for my Cavaliers to die here, I reset to the turn where I just seize Lubeck and I go for a more conservative strategy. I evacuate Sigurd and Noish and leave Alec in charge of Lubeck Castle, allowing him to heal himself to full and take down the Draco Knights with ease. When I'm ready to resume my adventure through the desert, I immediately get hit by a 10-hit meteor. Lame. I reset, burn some more ends because I know I have worse hit rates to face, and this causes the mage to somehow target Sigurd and his massive 23 res. Why? Can these guys stop hitting me? Finally, I managed to get myself in a position to kill the priests. My units are severely injured, but I have some marine levels left, so I can heal them back up. Now all that is left is the final trek to the capital of Granville. A lot of which, by the way, consists of pure desert. Yay. However, when they arrive, they can take a moment to rest before going in against the last army in the game, the Frege army, led by Reptor. As I am calmly contemplating my plan of attack, Ida decides it's time to move. All the Veldhomer mages turn against Reptor and start bombing him with Meteor. Now you know how it feels. I take the opportunity to take out their only healer so that any damage they incur is permanent. However, I have to be very sure to stay out of range of Reptor. His Thor hammer is mighty powerful and basically never misses. It is a guaranteed one-shot on Alec and close to one on Noish. To that end, I try to have Alec take all the attacks whenever possible so that Noish can stay at full HP for when he's inevitably going to fight Reptor. I know that if I kill Reptor, all of the other enemies will vanish, so I kill whatever enemies I can while keeping my distance from the boss. At last, I have an opening. If I just get one sniper out of the way, I can reach him. Alec does the honors, and then it's time for Noish to go in. I know he's going to need a bit of luck, probably a double critical, since Reptor is another one of those really bulky barons, not to mention he has my favorite skill in the game. So I attack Reptor, and it turns out Noish doesn't double him. The Thor hammer negates its own weight entirely, so Reptor was much faster than I thought he would be. That really limits my options. The smart thing would have been to have Noish use the hero sword, which would have been light enough to let him quadruple. But since I was already here and I didn't feel like going all the way back through the desert, I decided it was time for Alec to have a go. He just needs to get past the fun skill and land 2 critical hits before Reptor electrocutes him. And he goes for it. And he gets it. In one try! Amazing! What are the odds? And that's it, the rest of Reptor's army surrenders and fades into obscurity, and we're just in time to celebrate Christmas with our body Arvis. The end.